There are quite a few athletes that end up in quite dark places. All of these situations, they are cause and effect. Sometimes it may look like a surprise when people ask, how did he end up here? How did he became like this? And on very, very rare occasions, it really happens like this. Usually, it's a slow process that moves along for many months or even years. And when abrupt changes happen, we tend to ask, how did that happen? And there are quite a few things actually that influence athletes' potential and thinking. One of them is trauma. In this case, looking from psychological perspective. No one's perfect, life's hard, and so on. Therefore, most of the people have some minor or major issues in their minds. With this, I want to mention that even one thinks that life is going well, I'm quite sure that there's still place to work. There are still things to work on and manage. Somebody has attachment issues. Someone was raised up in aggressive environment. Somebody got neglected. Many things happen to people. If these issues can be brought up, spoken about, an athlete can get rid of them and feel lighter, more motivated to reach to his or her potential. Addictions, super common thing among athletes and general society as well. Alcohol, cigarettes, weed, cocaine, and many other drugs, dissociatives. I want to mention that probably everyone uses them for their own reasons, and there can be upside to that, looking from some specific perspective. Usually, unfortunately, people try to fill the voids. People try to lift the heaviness. People try to feel more happy because their days are full with heaviness and sadness. Everyone has own reasons. And I want to say that these issues are very human. Nothing to be ashamed about, but these are the things I do believe people have to deal with in open, supportive manner. These are like non-personal opponents that attack to people, and people sometimes even think that this is my friend. For example, alcohol. Alcohol gives me this and that and so on. Unfortunately, most of the times, it's not our friend. Another one is not knowing oneself. Living in society where action and results are prioritized, there is quite a little time for a person to get to know oneself, one's real values, one's real aspirations. And I have seen quite many people who live based on external pressure, based on what other people expect from them. But sooner or later, one comes to the point where he or she feels that, hey, what's going on, you know? Is this my thing actually? And hopefully, most of the times, it is like that. In real life, not always it's the case. There are few things why this happens. One, I have to mention that all of these situations should be looked individually, separately, mm, because even if 10 similar people have tendency towards some drug or some destructive behavior, we cannot tell all of them to do this or that. Everyone must be looked, every situation must be looked individually. Environment. Of course, every athlete should ask themselves how to get this environment better. And everyone who is involved in specific athlete's life also has responsibility of influencing this environment athlete lives in. And it's not only about one's decisions and things what one does, it's also about other people's decisions. So the closest people can really influence how to deal with these things. Of course, I cannot give one answer in a short video, but looking from this perspective I'm looking right now, understanding that it's not the full picture, one of the things talking about this topic, how do athletes end up in dark places, I could tell that one of the main things is communication, where athlete can express all the darkest corners in one's mind, where athlete can talk about all the issues that happen inside him or her. It's communication with mentors. And I don't mean just formal mentors who say like, okay, let's talk about this and that and so on. I mean about people who really care and really take a good look long term on athletes' lives, so they can see what happened 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and see this big picture of how athlete is leading one's life. The key word to this topic, I think, could be courage. There are quite a few things that we find uncomfortable to talk about, or things that we want somehow push in the background because they don't seem too important right now. We have schedules, we have things to do, and so on. I think the question is to ask, what are the consequences of not dealing with this thing right now? What are the consequences in long term? And I'm quite sure that some of the things get bigger and bigger and influence one's results quite strongly. Some of the things, of course, we have to push aside and say that this is not important. So, courage. Courage is a currency that we pay, that we invest to get our results higher. That it's really, really good if athlete can express all the darkest corners of one's mind and just get rid of the stuff that's no longer necessary and work with the things that still takes time to work with.